KSM Show.
I'm Kofi Boa, MP for Elembele. I endorse the KSM Show. It is the best.
Hey, we're back. And we're still here with Dr. Randy Abbey. And as I told you that you can't get this guy and say, Charlie, come, let's talk to him and go. No, you have to detain him until you finish. And also, I've been hunting this man. So we're putting everything together. All the time that I missed, he's doing it today. Randy, welcome back, man.
Thanks, Chief. Just what? You know, you got me with the retirement thing.
That one
immediately said that. I said, wow, it will be sacrilegious that KSM will retire and I never came on the show. That would be very disrespectful. You don't disrespect your seniors. You know, you have to respect them so they can bless you.
Wow.
Yes.
So that did the trick.
So that did the trick. When they said, look, I need to interview before I retire, I said, hey, I have to leave everything and do this one. Because once the man has indicated, I don't want to hear something tomorrow and say that she
told me. Yeah. So he said with us today, there's just a lot and before the commercial break, we were talking about COVID, and you were saying, you know, people say, what's the word in Chief? You're saying that may be true because seeing what has happened in other jurisdictions, Italy, the US, you know, the levels of death that happened here.
Just 5%.
Just 5% of it.
Ask yourself what have happened. So our saving grace is that we are, look, a country like Burundi, they said they've not done even one test. Their hospitals are not being run over. Their mosques are not being run over. They have not done even one test. So they are unable to determine who has and who doesn't have. But I'm sure that is the same issue of a large number of the population being asymptomatic. Is what is accounted for, what you're not seeing. So what it means is that if most of the people were not asymptomatic, you would see people falling critically ill and they haven't been rushed to hospital. Because I always make this point that in most cases it is not the test that determines the hospitalization and the death. The person is critically ill, they can't breathe, they must be sent to the hospital. So the hospitalization really has no correlation with the testing. And the death really has no direct correlation because the people who fall sick and they die, they are in critical condition, they must be rushed to the hospital. So the hospital and the morgues will expose that nature. It appears that in our case, because of the issue of a lot of us being asymptomatic, so there's no run on the hospitals in terms of hospitalization and then deaths. So people do not show the symptoms at all. They show a mild form of it. But that's also where the danger is. Because these are people who spread the disease without even knowing that they are doing that. And that's why I'm happy that we're able to develop this rapid kits so that we can test a lot of people. So in our case, even the testing becomes important. Because people will not show or might show mild symptoms so that we get to know who has it so we can isolate them. And then also, whether it is a genetic thing or whatever, it might also help us in developing, you know, some vaccines and all that. Or help in research into the immunity of such people and all that. Because you see, look, there was a time when the previous Israeli ambassador, he said that when he looks at the statistics on the importation of rice by Ghana, he finds it stupid. And people were upset. That he had insulted us. And I said publicly that I think that he was mild. Look at a country like Israel. It's virtually a desert. But they feed themselves. And they have decided that they will feed themselves by doing greenhouse farming. About more than 60% of the world's arable land is in Africa. Africa imports food more than any other place in the world. Majority of the world's arable land is in Africa.
It's in Africa, yeah.
Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire put together export about 60 to 65% of the world's cocoa 60 to 65% of the world cocoa. Put together, they make between $4 and $5 billion from exporting 60 to 65% of the world's cocoa. Ghana in 2018, I believe, made about $200 million from processed, so chocolate and other byproducts, just 200 million. Belgium does not grow a pod of cocoa. They make $10 billion every year from value addition to cocoa. They don't grow a pod. They make 10 billion. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire grow 60 to 65% of the world's cocoa. They make 5 billion. In adding value in 2017 or 2018, Ghana made like 200 million or $300 million from it. Look at tiny Belgium. They don't distribute fertilizer. They have no farmland. They don't even have one cocoa tree. They make 10 billion by adding value. Other countries, Germany, you know that Germany has the cocoa museum. Is it either in Cologne or Stuttgart? You know, where people can get to see from how the cocoa bean is grown up until how maybe a chocolate is made. And they do not grow cocoa, but they found it necessary to create the chocolate museum or the cocoa museum for people to see how. I mean, the chocolate you eat, this is how it starts.
How it starts
and everything.
How it ends,
yes, and all that. You know, and we're here, and every day we're thinking of how we can get $1.5 billion from cocoa syndicated loans to deal with our dollar problems for a while. Tiny Belgium is making 10 billion.
10 billion.
You know, so how do you produce 60 to 65% of the world's cocoa and make half of what Belgium makes from adding value to small cocoa? You know, there must be something fundamentally and basically wrong.
And what's wrong? And because that's the conclusion, that something is not right.
But that's why I use the issue of the production of the sanitizers, liquid soaps, and some PPEs by some of the local institutions. But for COVID, when Wukolebu have decided that we could do our own liquid soaps, until COVID, the capacity to do it themselves by using internally generated funds and internal staff existed. It is not a capacity that came up as a result of COVID.
It was there.
Yeah, it was there. I mean, the issue of those who have done this test, I'm told that they even developed a vaginal test which can detect infections and all that. Because of red tapeism and others, they were being frustrated. But of course, the situation with COVID has fast-tracked or is fast-tracking this particular rapid testing system and all that. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So, there are a lot of things. I mean, rice. Look at the arable lands that we have here. And look at the rice that we import. We import rice, we import sugar. I mean, what are the main tickets? If you look at our import bill, it used to be oil. Now, being a producer of oil, there's a sort of a balance between what we import and even that. And that also, the question is, for how long are you going to continue being an exporter of crude oil? And then also be a big importer of finished products. You understand what I'm saying? So we are producing the crude. We are happy to announce that we can produce X barrels of crude and all that. For our domestic use, how much of that are we refining ourselves? So we send the crude out in the raw form.
Go and buy
and then we go and bring in finished products.
Refined,
you know, and then come in and sell them here. Why do we continue doing that? I mean, so you take the oil out, you take rice, big ticket item, you take sugar, you take processed tomatoes, you take vegetable oil. What is the big deal about these items? That these are the items that create problems for our currency every single year.
Constantly.
Yes. Are these things items that we do not have a comparative advantage in producing? They obviously are not. So what is it that has stopped us from doing what we must do? So when we say that these two shall pass, is it going to pass for us to go back? Or is going to pass for us to say that, look, if
we have learned new lessons, so no more. We're going to do it here.
You know, you cannot have everything. You cannot produce everything. But does it make sense that you have imported toothpicks on your shelves?
Yeah.
Isn't it embarrassing?
Yeah.
Isn't it embarrassing that there was a research of the 8 top supermarkets in Accra, and they looked at percentages of locally produced items against the imported items. I mean, even meat, we're importing over 40%.
40%.
Over 40% meat. So, aponchin, nemchi, over 40% sold in those places. Even eggs, we're importing 9% of eggs. When it gets to cereals and rice and all those things, that's even terrible. That's even terrible. The Ghana rice and the brown and the white one are the ones you find being sold by the roadside. In the stores, you find those ones with all those fantastic names and all that. I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with how we've done things. Are we going to take advantage of this particular pandemic to say that, look,
let's do a reset?
Yes, let's do things differently. Or we're waiting to go back to our old ways of doing things.
That's very profound, you know, because that's what we said, that this too shall pass. So that we can go back to, you know, the regular life. Or are we now going to start something that we should have started long ago? What do you think will happen? For me, where I sit, and because of the years of going through, well, we have never gone through anything like COVID before, though, so maybe this will be the change. But I've seen it so many times, you know. I remember way back then, when I saw your CV and I saw you were born in 1974, I said, oh, small boy. I remember in 74 being in a group called the Student Movement for African Unity.
Right.
Being all African, and this should be pro-African. We can do this here. Why don't we concentrate? You know, way back then, before you were born, we were talking this language. And then all of a sudden, officers out till we get to a point where everything is dependent on something else. So I'm wondering, is this the final change after COVID? Are we now really going to be self-independent, or is this also going to pass? What do you think?
You know, can you imagine if COVID was not global and we could still fall on China and other places for anything? Would never have thought of doing things differently. But it's because this is global in nature and it's affected everybody.
There was a shortage of...
You cannot rely on anybody. And so this issue of God loves us more than others. You know, there are people who say things that you might sometimes find crude, but in your quiet time when you analyze them, it says that, look, if you look at, we were discussing at Greek, if you look at the climate and vegetation of a lot of places, you realize that because these people do not have, so it appears that where we are today, the kind of situation we find ourselves, they have found themselves in those situations because they don't have the arable lands you have. They do not have all the resources you have. So they've had to think deeply and to strategize on how to do things. So like the Israelis depending on green farm technology for agricultural produce, it's because they do not have what we have. It's a desert, but they must eat. They must feed themselves. And so they had to find a way of doing it. They relied on technology to do it. Because you have it. I mean, was it Bob Marley who said that in the abundance of water, the fool is still thirsty?
Yeah.
So in the abundance of arable land, Africa is still hungry. In the abundance of that. I mean, look at how valuable those places consider water. And look at how we treat water. I mean, we destroy our water bodies with reckless abandon because God made a mistake by blessing us with it. So because we have it,
we waste it.
We waste it and we don't think. Like it said that when the president announced the free water for 3 months, people started
they were going to open their taps and let it run.
You know? So that's the kind of people we are. So is it that God made a mistake by giving us
so much,
and that because we have so much, we refuse to think and do what is right, so that those who do not have, those who are not as endowed as us,
they have to strategize.
Yeah, so Belgium doesn't have cocoa, but they strategize to make 10 billion out of value addition to what they import from you, and then you have it.
So you just,
and you always look forward to 1
yeah.
billion, 1.5 billion cocoa syndicated loan. When it comes, the dollar rate will drop. I mean, for how long are you going to continue like this? You know, so if this thing, this horrible pandemic, does not force us to, at least for once, decide not to just play tokenism into doing things differently.
Yeah.
I do not know what will.
Yeah. Yeah.
In all facets of our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
In all facets of our life.
So this is probably our last chance to reset our thinking.
Maybe.
And our mentality.
Maybe.
Because like you said, if this doesn't force us to do it, then what else are we waiting for?
Maybe. Maybe.
Wow.
Because everything is going to change. Can you imagine if the ban is lifted on church activities and social gatherings and all that? We are not going to have the same settings we have in our churches. It will change. Even sitting arrangements.
Yeah.
Even things that we do. Tap your neighbor. Hold your neighbor.
Yeah.
Tell your neighbor that this. Go and shake 5 people.
Yeah.
All those things will change.
That's true. That's true.
They will change.
Yeah.
You know, the funeral, you know that thing when I go to, you know, most of my friends are Akan. So when you go to the funeral, it's on the park. You start from one side. And you greet. Everybody.
That's true.
KSM no bow. We have the TV show. Open your free client. Then you greet.
All that must change.
Yes, it must change. It obviously will change.
That's so true. I can imagine what they say about you. That is not the never know. They were for a doctor. Want to sign here, yes. You know, all of that
will have to change. And people will not find it disrespectful if you don't come in. Some of the parks, the football fields, the other you start from one end. By the time you finish, you've greeted our 700 people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's part of the tradition.
Yeah.
You know, all that will change. All that will change.
Yeah. Even the funeral itself.
Yes.
Having a big funeral.
Change.
You don't have to change. It doesn't 25 or less.
The only thing is that, you know, when people are not there physically, then Sawa doesn't flow.
So doesn't flow.
But you know, that's a problem. You know, people are not going to church. But to send the tithes and offering by Momo, it's not the same. Because it's not the same as a person being there. And so, raise your hand, say this after me.
Yes.
When a person feels like a service has been rendered.
That's right.
You know, so, it's difficult for a person to go and say that, oh, I'm sending my rent. It's hard. But you know, all those are things that
we're gradually get you.
So after we need to be thinking that direction.
That's where we are.
That's where we're going to. Things will never be the same again. And we should not be speaking about capacity of enrollment and others within the framework
of the physical. Yeah.
We should stop that. We should stop that. You know, because look, my MBA, Australia, I can tell you the number of times that I went to Australia. My master's in business research and the doctorate, Switzerland. I can tell you the number of times. I didn't spend more than 2 weeks in Switzerland. You understand me? We must begin to look at doing things differently. I mean, brick and mortar cannot be an excuse for us any longer, because this thing has shown us that the new norm goes beyond brick and mortar and physical spaces. Look, banks and insurance companies, this thing is demonstrated that, look, a lot of people who dress up every day and go to the office don't actually need to be in that physical space.
That's true. That's very, very true.
But a lot of the things they do, they must just log on into their computers at home. And all the things they do in the offices, they can do
there
in the comfort of their homes.
Yeah.
Because all they do is that they come to the office, they log onto the computer, and all the work they do the whole day is work that can be done
at home.
At home. They don't even need to take a shower to do it. You understand me? And in fact, it saves them transport.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it even lessens the burden on the salary, the component of transport in that salary alone, by working from home. So you realize that it's only some critical staff whose physical presence will be needed. And for even some of them, their physical presence will not be needed every day. So I was even telling, I think it was my wife I was telling a couple of days ago, but look, you know that with this thing, now it's even possible for me. Anytime I travel, one of the problems I have is that I travel quite often. So anytime you travel, somebody must sit in on your show. It's now evident that anywhere in the world that I find myself, I can host Good Morning Ghana.
Yeah.
And my panel will not have to be physically present. COVID has demonstrated that is possible. You just need to find the right infrastructure to deliver on that. And so it's just telling us that the way we know about things and studio and everybody must come at 7 a.m. That thing is surely going to change. So you must take steps to start adapting. That's all it means.
That's it. That's it, man. Show some love, man. That's all it is. Yes. Wow. Wow. And I'm hoping, like you, that when things pass, we'll understand that there's a new dimension. And I'm actually particularly looking forward to the manifestos that are coming out, you know, because now the focus must all change, man. Yeah. Moving from spatial to data.
Yeah, it must. It must. So this thing has exposed even our data infrastructure, our general telecom infrastructure and our data infrastructure. And this, you know, people kept saying that data is the new thing. It's data, not voice. We started hearing that many years ago. But we had to wait for something like this
to happen,
to expose the fact that, look, what we have is not enough. And if we are going to go with a new normal, which obviously will sit on data, you know, then we need to do a lot more, because asking people to work from home, asking schools to be anywhere, I mean, going virtual in a lot of ways, there must be an infrastructure to support that. So if that's the new normal, your thinking must be geared towards how to make provision for that particular infrastructure to enable you be part of the new normal. And that's where I think it must go. I've had board meetings since COVID till today. It's only one that I had in a physical space. The rest Zoom. Until this, I didn't have the Zoom app. I had not downloaded it. Now I've downloaded it.
Yeah.
And we have our meetings on it. We have our board meetings on it. You understand me? So, you know, we have a constitution that says that when the president is going out, the vice president, if they are not there, the speaker must be sworn in. Sometimes 1 a.m. people are invited to come and swear them in and all that. And people have raised the issue. In this technological era, if a president is out, is it not possible to have cabinet meetings if it's on Thursdays and the president is not physically
there? He can just
join in. Or can't we even have cabinet meetings with everybody being in their other places and all that? This thing is challenging our way of doing things
massively.
And like I keep saying, when we say these two shall pass, are we looking at a return to our comfort zone, or we are looking at adapting to the new norm? That's a question we must answer.
Amen to that. Amen. Right before you go, I have to get a little bit personal.
Right.
You have two boys.
Yes.
Randy and Jason.
Yes, Jason is the eldest.
Jason the eldest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason near Boabi.
Oh, okay.
And then Randy near Koabi.
And the wife is Tessa?
Yes, Tessa Abbey.
Tessa Abbey.
Yes, because of my mom. My kids have a combination of Guy and Fanti name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So your dad was Guy and mom was Fanti?
My mom Fanti.
So it's Jason
Niabo
Abbey.
And then Randy near Ko Abbey.
Okay. And your wife is?
She's Ever.
She's Ever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How long have you been married?
10 years, going 10 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And how is, she's the one I should ask, but I'm asking you, what would she say if I asked her what kind of husband you are?
Oh, I'm sure that she would say a lot of good things about me, but she would also say that I am, how do you put it? There's this expression, I'm a handful.
You're a handful?
Yes.
Oh, really?
A handful.
Yeah.
You know, so if you add the boys to them, then you realize that you really have a big house to manage.
And in your own assessment,
yes,
how has she been able to handle everything?
Oh, so far so good. I mean, there's been times that she's had it tough, but you know, she knows that I'm a sweet person. I'm a good person. She knows I'm a very good person. I'm not a saint. I'm not proud that I'm not a saint.
But you're a good person.
You know, but I'm a very good person. And I have my own feelings. I have my own challenges. I have my own battles and wars that I keep fighting every day.
What's your feeling?
What's my feeling?
What would you consider as a feeling?
You know, for somebody who has, let's put it this way, by the time I met my wife, I was Randy Abbey. Yes, I mean, I've been used to doing things in a particular way. You know, I'm not answerable to anybody. I don't owe anybody an explanation for my actions. I take the decision and I get on with it. You know, and then somebody comes into my life. And all of a sudden, the person expects that, you know, I have to. There are things that I must know. I have to consult. I need to do this. And so they made things quite turbulent in the early days. You know, but it got to a point where you realize, I mean, counsel from some senior friends of mine. You know, one of such persons is a former President Mama. You know, he gave me a few tricks.
Okay.
A few tips and tricks on, you know, how to have peace at home and the things you need to seed and the things you need to. So in my house, I call myself a tenant. You know,
you call yourself
a tenant.
A tenant.
The tenant who pays the bills. You know, so I live there. I mean, the commander-in-chief is the landlady. You know, it's a territory. She runs the show. So I live in it. You know, and so you get to learn a lot of these things, and you realize that, look, giving responsibility, seeding some things does not take anything away from you.
Yeah.
You know, it lessens the burden. It keeps a happier home. You know, I mean, less wahala, quite some happiness. You know, and all that. And I'm somebody who loves to share, especially with my family. So people around me, I mean, when I have, they benefit from it. Yeah, you know, so. But you know, growing up, we were a bit wild and all that.
Yeah.
And it takes some time to, you know, so
to slow down. And
yeah, so we're slowing. Yeah, we're slowing, and we will slow down. You know, but I mean, it's all a part of it. You know, a person like the Archbishop Duncan Williams, you know, he's taking a personal interest in me. He likes me a lot. You know, so he's always checking up on me. He always makes sure that, you know, I'm in church. You know, he has to see me after church. He's giving me responsibilities. You know, he's always trying to speak with me. So it's all part of, you know, getting me to, you know, learn to do things differently. And all that.
Yeah.
So like I keep saying, I'm trying. I have my feelings, I have my challenges, but I think and I believe that I'm a very good man. I'm not perfect, you know, but I'm a very good man.
I think I agree with that. Dr. Randy Abbey, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. You know, at times people say doctor. I don't know I forget I'm the person they are referring to.
They are
I'm
referring
looking out
to.
for somebody. They tap me and say, "Oh, it's you." So please, it take me about 2-3 years
to get used to it.
I mean,
but we've done very, very well. We couldn't even get into half the stuff, man. For 2 shows, you know. Because we're broadcasting, there's so much. But at least we've learned so much from you. And I'm very, very happy, especially with your take on the COVID. And when all of this passes, where are we going from here? And we thank you so much for joining us. And sorry if I had to keep you for 2 shows because you have avoided me for.
First of all, it's a privilege to be on your show. It's a privilege. 2, I owe it to you as a big brother and a senior to be on your show. 3, it's very disrespectful and embarrassing on my part that you keep chasing me to be on your show. I should rather be the one chasing you to be on your show. I am happy that eventually I've had the opportunity of clearing my conscience and doing what is right.
You have.
Thank you very much.
You have. Folks, it's been an exciting 2 weeks of just dwelling on one guest, and I told you it's captivating, so I have no choice. But I'm glad that you tuned in and you all enjoyed it too. So stick around until next week. I'm going to say we'll be right back, no. But until next week, we'll be coming your way. Ciao.
The KSM Show.
Etiefo, se wope wine and sata, me pacho pi, shishwe man family wine. I'm rantie miensa wo mu free Stellenbosch, South Africa ye ne kwine. Red wine awudoni bi ene Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot ena Syrah. White wine nso ebi ne Chardonnay ene Chanel Blanc. Wo pese wo enjoy wine ya, me pacho pi. White wine no 7 ice cold and a red wine nso maninya cool kakra. Wo pache de bi dia mo pani bia. Man family wine. Wo ye party ane yen so a emma rain free man family wine. Artist option was Spintex Road in Krankwa and a sole distributor ewo Ghana. At phone for 020-811-0618 059-261-1618 and 020-816-1601. Man family wine obia see ye nom ni nyansemu wonton many pa woni mfie dumotwe ensesa penfo num bie FDA ahwehwe sa edwedie nkrato imagia to mu se eye.